And so begins the office hours about to start. Everyone wants to ping me for reasons. What's happening? Kicking. He should be here soon, hopefully. Filling in the gap to David with a song. Hmm. True. Your fairies are more elegant. I'm curious. Do share. Just clone my voice and let it sing for you. Hey, I've given people permission to do that. No one has done it yet. That I know of. Fair. But I would expect anyone who's done that to share. Because what's the point of doing it if not? Voice clone telling bedtime stories. You'd like my voice on your phone, it's called. There is at least one person who has that for that reason. It's actually an old recording of one of my radio shows when I was in college. Could read great bedtime stories. I mean, at some point, if I ever find the time, I should actually look into getting an agent for VO stuff. But time is difficult to come by these days. Hello. Not getting audio from you. Might need to do the leave and rejoin thing again.
Hello?
All right, good. Can hear you now.
Yeah. maybe I can just start the event next time just to make it easier. It might be a bug if whoever starts the event gets to talk to the thing.
Maybe.
Um,
Seems like it's only you that it happens with, though. It doesn't happen on any of the others.
I don't know. Maybe I'll just start it next time. We'll see if that fixes it. Um, all right, sent out the announcement. We'll let everybody come in and then we'll get started. All right, we've leveled off. Is that it?
It's still going up for me. But yeah, it looks like it's about leveled off now.
All right. Welcome to the Midjourney Weekly Office Hours. We do them every week, Wednesday, 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. What we normally do is we just talk about what we're working on, what we're thinking about, and then we take questions. So let's get started. The main things that are going on right now are we are training 6.5. It's going well. I would say it's at stage 2 of training out of 3 or 4. So it's about, yeah. So it's chugging along. Ran into some problems, unfortunately, so they're trying to fix the problems now, but it is the final training run is coming. Um, we're a little blocked on our V7 stuff by the new data set, so we're gonna do a bunch of new data for V7, and so it's taking a bit longer than we thought, but I think that'll still be okay. Still be ready before 6.5 is out to start training, I hope. Um, we've been looking a lot at the demographic surveys that people have filled out, so thank you everyone for filling out the demographic surveys. Um, we may poke everybody who filled out the demographic survey who doesn't have personalization to say, hey, please also do the personalization stuff because it's really what we really want is to have both of those things to look at together. I think we're going to release some kind of demographic aesthetic features. I'm playing around with it a little bit still. We don't quite have enough people right now to do everything I'd like to do, so I might just keep it simple at first. Let people kind of flip the gender or like flip maybe like some age ranges on the things to get a sense of the sort of like under 25 versus over 65 versus in the middle type of aesthetics, and then maybe sort of like maybe some of the different countries will open up. Maybe we'll open up some of the gender stuff. Trying to figure out how to do it because the different ages and countries have different gender balances, and so part of it is just going to that like the gender stuff might dominate in some ways, but so I'm debating whether I like balance the gender stuff before allowing the other options. But I mean, to be honest, the current Midjourney aesthetic is very not gender balanced because the majority of because like 75% of the users are male. So just separating out the male and female actually is pretty stark in some situations. That's probably gonna be the first one we release. I think it's pretty fun to look at. Um, the LGBT aesthetics are also really interesting. I have to like think about how to release those in a way that aren't controversial. But obviously, uh, yeah, those are kind of interesting. Like basically, what we do is we're kind of like pooling together the aesthetic personalizations of different demographics based off what people told us about. Like, and so if you kind of take all the the personalized aesthetics of all the LGBT people and you pool it into one, looks pretty interesting. Um, likewise, the male one looks closer to the current Midjourney one. And the female one looks very different. So these are all really interesting. I would say like America and Europe look pretty similar. though there's some slight differences depending on which part of Europe you're looking at. There's a pretty big difference between Asia and US and America, so it might be interesting to release some kind of Asia aesthetic mode. Though there's actually like a noticeable difference between, say, like Japan and Korea and China. So I have to decide, like, do we pool everything together or do we sort of have a few different countries? So kind of trying to figure out. We kind of have a lot of really cool things we can do. We don't have enough colorblind people, unfortunately. I really wanted to make like a colorblind mode, but we just haven't had enough colorblind people, right, which is a little frustrating. But there's some like evidence that, yeah, if we had enough colorblind people, it would look really different too. We could have like a colorblind colorism mode, which is kind of cool. Um, a lot of people don't seem to know what type of colorblind they are, which is unfortunate. It makes it hard to calibrate. We'll look at maybe sponsoring some kind of university study, maybe that can kind of maybe calibrate it for us, because I think that'd be cool. Like 10% of people are colorblind. Um, yeah, there's a bunch of like little subtle things that are interesting in there. I think it'd be cool to like let people explore that. I wish we had more people in Africa. Like that would be really cool, but we don't. Um, yeah, so like Europe, America, Asia have the main zones. I think we have enough for like Brazil and stuff, but I haven't. The difference between Brazil and America isn't as different as the difference between America and like Asia. So that's kind of interesting. Just sort of exploring all these sort of aesthetic demographic differences and trying to think about things. But probably the biggest demographic aesthetic split seems to be more related to like age, gender, like LGBT versus like Asia versus like Eastern versus Western world, which kind of makes sense. Um, yeah, there's some slight other ones too, but like the religion ones seem actually more like the country than the religion in some ways. But yeah, religions we don't quite. There's too many religions and not enough people on the survey, so hard to really fully look at that. I was hoping that'd be more interesting. Um, but it's been really cool to look at that data. So I appreciate everybody filling out the surveys, and we'll release some versions that'll be fun to play with. Um, it's quite stark. It's quite stark to, yeah, the male, once you see like the male versus female stuff, it's pretty clear how the current system is biased. So I think eventually our goal is to try to use this data to better calibrate the future aesthetics. So that way, it's not like a male dominated aesthetic or something. Um, yeah, trying to think about exactly how to do that. It's kind of like a delicate thing because you want to calibrate it without making it worse. Like there's some risk in some ways around doing it poorly, but we've been sort of meditating a lot on the future of the aesthetic system. Yeah, I don't think we're necessarily going to get all the advancements in V6, but I think as you're trying the personalization and these new demographic things, um, you can kind of start to get a glimpse at the future of things. And yeah, hopefully around V7, we'll have time to have it be much more calibrated. Um, yeah, we'll see. Um, but yeah, it makes sense that it's kind of hard to balance things between male and female preferences if most of the user base is male and you don't know who is female. So, think about these demographic surveys as really just helping us to figure out how to demographically calibrate our system. Um, that said, in the future, we are going to try to push people towards personalization. So I think there's an interesting question of like, how much does the default aesthetics even matter at all? Maybe they don't, because maybe everybody will be on a personalization. But it does make sense that if there is some kind of default aesthetic, that it should be a balanced aesthetic. So I think that probably makes sense. Kind of having some kind of balanced default aesthetic, but then pushing people more towards um, Yeah. I mean, like the average dude is gonna like a balanced aesthetic less than they would that's one that's optimized for dudes. So, I mean, it might be fine to just let people switch it to dude mode. But yeah, it could be, yeah, it's kind of an interesting situation. I think we might be able to calibrate the gender out better at some point, as we have like some baseline data, like we might be able to. So yeah, there's a bunch of things that we're learning, and I think we'll be able to. It's very interesting. I'll try to. I think I'm going to try to release something in the next week or two that uses it. It really just depends on how simple we make it. We could release a male versus female mode this week if we wanted. I don't know whether to do that or not, but we could do that. Um, yeah, so I'll have to think about. I'll have to think about it. Um, yeah, I don't remember if the non-binary actually looked very different as much. Let's see. Um, non-binary. Did I not measure the non-binary one? Uh, no, I did look at non-binary. Non-binary. Um, there's too many demographics. No, yeah, non-binary looks closer to the female aesthetic. So I don't know if it adds a lot. Yeah, it doesn't seem like, yeah. I mean, it kind of makes sense, but I'll look at it a little bit more carefully later. Yeah. I mean, I think it's fair to say that the dude mode is definitely like more sexualized than the female mode. I don't think that dude mode is necessarily more sexualized than the current default Midjourney mode, but when you flip to female mode, it's pretty clearly different. Um, Funny enough, if you like flip it to like I don't call it gay, like a gay mode, if you ask if the gay mode as rendered on women looks more similar to the women as rendered on women, but the lighting is different in an interesting way. And then, but if you do gay mode back on gay on dudes, it kind of looks like what you would expect women. You took, yeah. The women do not seem to be sexualizing the guys, but the gay guys sexualize the guys, and then the straight guys sexualize the women. So you can kind of see, you can definitely see, you can definitely see it. Um, I didn't realize it, but there's a lesbian option on the demographics too, and the if you set it to if you set it to lesbian mode, it does not sexualize women. So the sexualization uh, seems to be unique to men, which is kind of interesting. Uh, yeah, the lesbian aesthetic one is also kind of interesting, like the gay aesthetic one. We don't have as many of the lesbians on the demographic survey, so we have to kind of check the statistical convergence. But I haven't checked the ethnicity one. I should check ethnicity. Thank you for reminding me. Ethnicity is complicated because people can do more than one ethnicity, and then it's a little harder to just check things. But yeah, I need to do the ethnicity test. Um, that's a fun question. What's the LGBT ratio for Midjourney? Uh, I could probably say that. Yeah. Wonder, is it higher than the normal population? I think it's probably not because I think it's not because we have a lot of. It's not really a young. It's not really like a young demographic. And the LGBT mostly increases as the, let's see. So we had 10,000, 15? No, 2,000. Yeah, maybe like 20%. Yeah, maybe like 20% LGBT. So, I mean, I think 10% LGBT is like normal for the population. As you go younger, it starts getting to 20% now. Like Gen Z, I think Gen Z is closer to 20%, and millennials are closer to 10%. And then like Gen X are closer to 5%. So I think given that we're like closer to millennial average, that would imply that there's like twice as high of a likelihood of being LGBT in the Midjourney group than in the general population with the age normalized thing. Kind of interesting. Um, yeah. Um, anyway, it's a lot of really interesting stuff. We'll try to like publish something about it. I'm kind of trying to make like what we publish about it versus what we just let people explore. But I definitely think that there's some cool stuff in there. So I'm looking forward to playing. We can basically release that relatively soon. We do want more people to fill out personalization. I think not enough people are using personalization, so we're going to try to add a sort of like onboarding personalization task on the website, and we'll reward people. We'll give a guaranteed fast hour reward for doing it. We're working on next generation personalization test that will be cleaner than the old one and more fun and faster. So I don't know when that'll be ready, but we'll probably try to test it by the end of this week with the guides and mods, and then if we're lucky, the end of next week we'll have a better personalization onboarding. Um, if we have a better personalization onboarding, then it might make sense to let people reset their personalization. Um, although yeah, but I don't know exactly how that's going to work. I'm not a huge fan of like a stated system where you reset it or something. I'm trying to figure out a better way to do it, but trying to not, um, yeah. Um, I don't want people really like micro like yeah. I'm trying to figure out the right way to do it. I don't have like a great answer. Um, but I think the personalization could definitely be better if we have more people using it. So I think part of the goal is to just get more people on, collect more data, improve the system. So we definitely have noticed that a lot of people who have bad personalizations have sort of like a higher prediction error on the neural network. So we can definitely see that there are measurable things that are leading some people to having bad personalizations. And by having more people on it, we definitely can improve that. So we'll probably announce like the ability to kind of get the guaranteed fast hours for enabling for getting personalization working this week if I can. And then we'll do like some new thing next week. Um, but it's gonna basically I have like a lot of ideas around the personalization and I feel really good about it. I personally enjoy using Midjourney a lot more with personalization on, though I tend to so I think it's definitely the future. And so we're gonna try to figure out how to push it harder. Um, and I'm sorry for people whose personalizations don't work well yet. Um, there's no reason why it shouldn't work well. Taking the test over again is not necessarily going to make it work better. It's just that it might not cover everybody's aesthetics yet. So, um, yeah, I think it's something that definitely will improve over time. But I think it's makes a huge difference for like 80% of people. So, yeah, new personalization stuff, version 6.5. I think that'll happen next month. It'll be pretty good, pretty serious. Then we'll do some demographic stuff too. So that's the cut that's coming soonest. V7 will come after that. Hoping V7 is just like it's a lot more knowledge, it's a lot more prompt intelligent. and it's a lot faster, but hard to exactly predict. I would like it to be faster. It'll be in theory it'll be faster and cheaper. Um, yeah, at some point we're gonna add personalization profiles, but yeah, I don't really have like a great way to. I don't really have like a clear. Um, I'm still trying to figure out like the right way to do it without it being like bloated as fuck. Just to be honest, like every time we let people like store things and have multiple things, it like bloats the product, and I'm just trying to not make things super fucking bloated. Yeah, I know everyone wants their subfolders and their 100 profiles and just trying to make it clean. But I know that we're gonna have some kind of personalization profile system. Just trying to figure out like a good way to make it clean versus not clean. Um, so we're going to be trying to update the website more. We're changing how rooms looks a little bit. So if you click chat, it just goes straight to the room. We're going to change the way that the buttons work in the lightbox. We're going to try to keep improving the help experience and some of the onboarding tutorials. We've been letting some people in without Discord accounts just to sort of see the conversion rates. We'll probably start expanding that a little bit, but it's sort of like random selection right now. Um, I think the NiJi team is thinking about adding some more styles to NiJi again, but I don't think we're planning on seeing personalization or anything on NiJi. Yeah. Um, what else? Mm, just thinking. I think we're going to try to add personalization to also power recommendation version of the website. So at some point, we'll let you have like a better explore feed that is more based that takes the personalization into account. We've done some tests for it, and it looks good. The main thing, of course, is just that like uh, it's going to take a few weeks to implement. So maybe by the end of next month. But it does make the explore page a lot nicer. But hopefully that'll come after personalization has now gotten a lot easier for people to do. So I do think that that's really important. We're gonna try to make it a lot more easy and a lot more fun. We have some concepts already that look pretty good, but it's gonna get better. We're also looking at doing some. We really want to do some better things around style, like the random sref codes that help people explore things. Um, Unfortunately, it's kind of gone slow, which is a little frustrating, to be honest, but I have some ideas, so we might just I feel like it's gonna end up being another month, which sucks. But I'm gonna see if I can come up with something that's doesn't take a month, maybe. So we might be able to do something that's like really, really simple, where you just render out a lot and then we show you random ones, and then that helps you find things really quickly. So maybe we'll just like really raw, like just like random. Maybe we'll let people like. I mean, it'd be cool if people could like them, and then we have like a hot and top, kind of like the explore page. But um, yeah, I'll have to think about that. I'm trying not to make things too complicated, but at the very least, we could probably do something that's probably could do something that's a random. We probably could do a random style explorer relatively easily. So I might just add like a random style thing. Maybe we'll just make it like an experimental website. Uh, what else? Mm, Obviously, we're working on 3D and video and all those things still. They're just gonna take a lot. I think they're gonna take a while, but they'll be really good when they come out. I think a lot of other people are rushing out bad video and bad 3D stuff for fundraising mainly. But honestly, I'm just not motivated to make something bad. So I think we want it to be really good. And we've made some progress on the 3D side that looks pretty good recently. So I'd say 3D is progressing slightly faster than video. Um, but video could catch up really quickly at some point. So we'll have to kind of see what happens. Yeah, I know that it was like early Midjourney like was kind of bad in a lot of ways in comparison to current stuff. But I think that even though V1 and V2 seem bad now, at the time they seemed good. And so I don't really want to release anything that's, in my opinion, bad video because I think that most of the video stuff now still looks just objectively bad and is not that interesting. It's interesting as a novelty, but it doesn't like I wouldn't tell you post it on Twitter, but then it takes a long time to render and it's expensive and it makes you motion sick. I think it's kind of bad. So I want to avoid like the kind of bad stuff. Um, but I think that there will be a good thing. Just wait till like a little longer. Anyway, I think that's about it. I always feel like I'm missing things. Not that I'm really missing any of the major things, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff that we're thinking of working on that are not that I basically don't talk about yet. So that's always like, oh, there's a lot of stuff missing. Anyway, I think we can switch to a lightning round question thing, so people can ask questions in the VC text channel, and I'll just answer questions for a little bit. I think sref codes already work for search for your own images. We don't really have a specific 6.5 weakness chart. I mean, obviously 6.5 is not 7, so 6.5 will not improve the prompt understanding or the knowledge, but it will improve the image quality and the text accuracy. I think we will add a transparency mode, but not in the short term, but probably in the next year. When we do 3D, it's going to not look like 3D models, it'll have a photographic quality. We don't have a specific ETA for multiple personalization profiles. We do want to do something there, but the design is like not obvious, to be honest. It's not obvious. Like, how do we make it clean? And I want to make it clean. There are a lot of people who don't fit well into categories of the demographics. Or maybe they're just rating badly. Hard to say, but like maybe they're rating in a non-genuine way, or they're not rating about aesthetics. But we really have no way of knowing. We haven't looked at them really deeply, but there are some users that there, a lot of users that say it's not working for them rated in some different way that's different from everybody else. So I'm sure some of that is like very different aesthetics. If we have more of them, then it should work better for them. Yeah, random personalization could be a fun feature. I think the problem is that it doesn't quite work like that right now. So maybe in the future we'll get it working, but it might work. We don't have like a better way of doing describe right now. I think maybe we'll look at we'll relook at describe after V7. Has glaze started bleeding into your training data? Um, to my knowledge, glaze doesn't really work. I don't think it's ever really worked. I think it works in extremely narrow situations, and I to my knowledge, the academic group doing it may just be disingenuous because like they're getting a lot of positive attention, and so sometimes, I mean, to be honest, the academic community is like 90% of all academic projects are just bullshit and don't actually replicate. So it's pretty like like most academic research is bad, and so I think sometimes when you get a bad piece of academic research that gets a lot of attention, um, they might just like double down, rather than sort of like admitting that it never really worked. Um, or that was never really a coherent thing. Um, I don't think there's a way to do something. I think the intention of like poisoning images for AI models in ways that are imperceptible to humans, I don't think that's possible to do unless you have access to the model that you're trying to poison. So a lot of those poisoning techniques like are too narrowly attached to a specific uh, thing. So like I think they designed it like specifically around one network, and I don't think it really generalizes. Um, like if glaze works, then if you glaze an image and you put it in as an image prompt, it should break Midjourney, but it doesn't. So to the best of my knowledge, it just doesn't work. And I kind of wish people would move on from. I wish people would be more honest about it, you know. But it's I think a lot of the training data stuff in general is probably focusing on the wrong thing because obviously Disney can train on their own images. So it's sort of yeah. Um, and obviously like you can license stock photo libraries, and so it doesn't. I think it's better just to talk about what kind of world we want to live in rather than trying to frantically apply uh, false academic research to try to poison a thing in a way that doesn't work and that doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? It's very. I just. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out. I want to be positive, but I'm trying to. I think my way of being positive is going to be about not so much telling people that things are stupid, but trying to give them positive visions of the future that they can look forward to and want to be a part of. So still trying to make some really good versions of Midjourney that like lets you draw. Still trying to build out really cool visions of user interfaces that are more kinetic, more um, physicalized, more um, artisanal in ways that don't involve language. So like a lot of the current Midjourney stuff is artisanal in ways that are kind of new, either like using words or doing sort of interesting crafts that have not been seen before. And so obviously like the first and whenever there's a new craft, like a lot of people are like, oh, that's not like my thing. So I think trying to make versions of Midjourney that are more conventionally craft oriented, which I think actually could ergonomically be really good. Like there's could be some very positive ergonomics around that. Probably the best thing I can do. Um, yeah. Um, and then the next things are more of like crazier stuff beyond that, like really long term. What does stuff look like in 5 or 10 years? And then having that be as exciting as possible. So we think about trying to like we're working on giving out some more like visionary roadmap, 5 year roadmap type things to try to give everybody a sense of what we're doing over the next 5 years and how that's really exciting. V 6.5 will not change the interpretation of words, but image quality will just look better. I think we are going to eventually have transparency, but it may be a while. There isn't really a way to tune personalization in a way that's totally coherent outside of the pairs, but I think personalization is not really meant to be crafted in that way. Like if you're going to craft something, just use words at some point. We might have a better way one day of doing something like personalization just for like one prompt, but it may take a while. That was sort of what the style tuner was, but was not used very much because it's obviously really expensive and not that easy to control, and you kind of get worse results. So I think in general, things are getting better. You can just blend the personalizations by doing dash dash p and putting two codes next to each other. Um, I don't think we're going to do free to. We're not doing it. We do have free GPUs, and we're trying to figure out the right way to use it. But I think we're more likely to do a batch rendering mode of some kind rather than doing anything for 5.2 or something. Um, yeah, we still need to put a lot of work into the mobile version of the website. Yeah, if you do ghost with dash p, it should, try to guess what it should try to. There's a lot of ambiguity in that, so it'll try to do as good as it can. I think 6 to 6.5 is going to be a bigger jump than 5 to 5.2. So it'll be pretty big. It's a little hard to. It's a little hard to. Yeah, we're hoping to make 6.5 have a better upscaler. We don't know yet if it will, but we would like to. Um, I'll take some notes. One second. Then I'm gonna write another note about the. All right. Any other? Yeah, we're gonna try to do some sketch stuff, probably like some depth net control stuff. Like we're gonna do a lot more control stuff. We're trying really hard. It's just there's a lot of things to do, and so we're kind of like creating a new medium. So it usually takes a while. Unfortunately, because it's so early, people just assume that whatever we have today is what's going to exist in 10 years. So I think that's one of the reasons why we should start talking more about long-term things. We definitely need to hire more people. I think the biggest area right now we really want to hire is more AI people and more front end people. So we want more people on the website and we want more people on the AI side. The AI stuff is pretty hard to find because there's not that many people who know anything about diffusion models. But there should be a lot of web front end people in the world. I hope some of them can reach out. Um, we don't really have a great way of reaching out right now, still. So I don't necessarily think hiring more female artists increase the demographic for female artists. I think that there's definitely an issue with the reinforcement learning that we do, which makes things more male over time because it then drives out women and then gets more male. So I think balancing the reinforcement learning, the calibrated system is the sort of objective way to do it. Um, We are remote. We're trying to get more into a small number of places. Trying to get more people into like LA and San Francisco and London and Japan. So we're in like 8 time zones right now, and I'm trying to kind of get more people into fewer places, if that makes sense, just because it's really hard to hire people right now who aren't already senior experts in the field. And I would like to be able to hire and onboard less experienced people in the future. I don't think we're planning on doing any offices on the East Coast, unfortunately. We will try to do higher resolution upscalers eventually. Cool. I think we're starting to peter off a little bit. Yeah, the future of prompting is definitely going to be more complicated. But hard to say exactly what that looks like. Don't think we're going to do anything in Las Vegas. It's not really my vibe. All right. Now I want to do something that we don't normally do, which is I want to do a reverse lightning round. I want to ask everybody else questions, and I want people to talk about what you think in the VC text channel. In order to make this easy for me, I would like to minimize the talking in the VC channel, which is not in response to my questions, because that way, I can read the answers. So it's going to be a little bit of like, I want to try to talk to a couple hundred people at the same time and get some thoughts. So, okay. Something I've been thinking lately is that there